Every morning, you have two choices: to repeat the patterns that keep you average or to rise into the habits that make you unstoppable. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is not talent, not luck, not timing. It's discipline, it's consistency, it's faith when no one is watching. Greatness is not born in the spotlight, it's built in the shadows of your daily decisions. Let me share with you 7 habits that turn your potential into unstoppable power. Before the world demands your attention, give your attention to what truly matters. Take a deep breath and thank the one who gave you another day. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's possible. It builds resilience, because a grateful heart cannot be broken by a bad day. It finds a reason to rise anyway. Don't let your phone be the first voice you hear. Let wisdom speak first. Read something that elevates your mind. Listen to something that builds your soul. You become what you consume, so consume greatness, not gossip. A strong mind creates a strong life. Energy is a choice. Movement is medicine. When you train your body, you train your mind to endure. Even 10 minutes of motion reminds your soul that you're alive, that you're capable, that you're in control. The body obeys the mind, but only when the mind proves it's serious. Words create worlds. Don't just say, I hope. Say, I will. Don't just wish for strength. Declare it. Every morning, speak life into your goals. Affirm your vision until it becomes your reality. The universe listens to conviction, not confusion. Perfection is the thief of growth. Some days you'll stumble, some days you'll soar, but both are movement. The secret to becoming unstoppable is showing up, especially when it's uncomfortable. Consistency beats perfection every single time. Do one thing for someone who can't repay you. A text of encouragement, a smile to a stranger, a word of hope. The moment you start lifting others, the universe starts lifting you. Because success without service is empty, but success through service is eternal. Before you sleep, ask yourself, did I grow today? Did I give my best? Did I honor my purpose? Reflection builds awareness, and awareness builds strength. You can't become unstoppable if you don't understand what's stopping you. These habits aren't grand gestures. They're daily choices. Tiny actions done consistently create massive transformation. You won't always feel like doing them, but that's exactly what makes them powerful. Because success isn't emotional, it's habitual. You see, storms will come. Disappointments will test you. People will doubt you. But if your habits are rooted in faith, discipline, gratitude, and purpose, you won't just survive, you'll rise higher because of the resistance. Every day you practice these habits, you are building armor. Armor made of consistency, fueled by faith, polished by gratitude, and driven by purpose. You become the kind of person who can't be shaken, can't be stopped, can't be broken. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize it wasn't a miracle that changed your life. It was your habits. It was your faith. It was your decision every single day to rise anyway, to move forward anyway, to believe anyway. Because unstoppable isn't something you are born as. It's something you become, one habit at a time. Faith is the foundation of greatness because without it, every dream collapses under the weight of doubt. Faith is not just belief in something unseen. It's the invisible fire that keeps you moving when everything around you tells you to stop. It's what whispers, keep going, when logic says, turn back. Faith is not found in comfort. It's forged in uncertainty, in the moments when you have no map, but you still take the next step. The greatest people in history did not rise because everything made sense. They rose because they chose to believe even when nothing did. Faith begins where sight ends. It's the courage to plant a seed without knowing when or how it will grow. It's the strength to show up again and again even when the results haven't arrived. When the doors don't open, faith teaches you to build your own. When the path disappears, faith tells you that maybe you were born to carve a new one. Faith doesn't remove the storm, it anchors you through it. It doesn't guarantee that the road will be easy. It guarantees that you'll never walk it alone. There will be days when the vision feels distant, when the progress feels invisible, when the silence of waiting feels unbearable. But that's where faith does its greatest work. It builds patience where fear builds panic. It creates purpose where pain creates confusion. It doesn't just move mountains. It makes you strong enough to climb them. Every person who has achieved greatness has walked through seasons of uncertainty. They've faced rejection, failure, and delay. But what separates them from the rest is that they didn't let what they saw destroy what they believed. Faith gave them sight beyond circumstances, power beyond strength, and peace beyond understanding. When faith becomes your foundation, your confidence is no longer built on the applause of others or the outcome of your efforts. It's built on trust that what's meant for you cannot be taken from you. You stop chasing validation and start walking in conviction. You stop begging for signs and start moving in silence because you know the direction even if you can't see the destination. Faith teaches you to live by purpose, not pressure. It reminds you that timing is divine and that every delay carries design. The waiting season is not punishment, it's preparation. Every test of patience, every closed door, every unanswered prayer is shaping your strength for something greater. Faith transforms obstacles into opportunities to grow, not reasons to give up. There will be times when fear disguises itself as logic and tells you that your dream is too big, that the risk is too high, that the odds are too low. But faith interrupts that voice. It says, try anyway. It reminds you that no one ever changed the world by playing it safe. Faith doesn't make you reckless, it makes you resilient. It gives you the courage to take the leap knowing that even if you fall, you will rise stronger. It's what pushes an artist to create when no one is watching, a leader to keep building when resources run dry, a believer to pray when answers are nowhere in sight. Faith is not passive hope, it's active trust. It's not waiting for proof, it's moving like it's already done. In a world obsessed with evidence, faith feels like rebellion. People will question your decisions, doubt your journey, and label your persistence as delusion. But faith never asks for permission, it moves quietly, steadily, and powerfully. It's not about showing others what you believe, it's about proving to yourself that belief is enough. The moment you start walking in faith, you stop walking in fear. You stop needing every step to make sense. You start realizing that the path reveals itself only to those who dare to walk it. Faith doesn't always roar, sometimes it's a whisper that says, just one more step. Greatness requires that kind of unseen strength, because the higher you climb, the less certainty you have and the more faith you need. Success isn't a straight road, it's a winding climb through valleys of doubt and peaks of revelation. When you build your foundation on faith, the storms can't shake you because your strength doesn't come from what's around you. It comes from what's within you. You stop reacting to fear and start responding to purpose. You understand that faith doesn't promise comfort, it promises growth. It stretches your belief, expands your patience, and deepens your trust. The more you walk in faith, the more you realize that every setback was actually a setup, that every now was protecting you from something not meant for your path, and that every closed door redirected you towards something greater than you imagined. Faith doesn't always change your situation, but it always changes your spirit. It takes chaos and turns it into clarity. It replaces anxiety with assurance. It teaches you that you don't have to have control to have confidence. That's why faith is not a one-time decision. It's a daily discipline. Every morning you wake up, you choose to believe again. You choose to believe that your work has meaning, that your pain has purpose, that your story isn't over yet. You choose to believe that what you're building in silence will one day speak for itself. Faith doesn't erase the waiting, it gives you strength to endure it. It doesn't skip the process, it sanctifies it. Every day you keep showing up with faith, you are proving that you are bigger than your fear and stronger than your struggle. When you live with faith, you stop being defined by outcomes and start being defined by obedience. You stop asking, what if it doesn't work? And start asking, what if this is what I was made for? Faith turns your questions into convictions. It teaches you to trust the process even when the process breaks you. It shows you that sometimes things fall apart so better things can fall into place. It reminds you that delay is not denial and that patience is the highest proof of belief. Faith makes you realize that miracles are not random. They are rewards for relentless trust. Every act of greatness begins with a seed of faith planted in the dark. You water it with effort, protect it with perseverance, and wait with hope. Others may not see it grow at first, but that's because roots grow before results show. Faith works underground before it ever appears on the surface. It's the invisible architecture of destiny. Without it, even the most talented fall apart when life shakes them. With it, even the weakest find strength in the storm. Faith gives you a reason to get back up when failure knocks you down. It tells you that the story isn't over just because the chapter looks dark. It teaches you that every detour is still part of the design, that every ending is really a new beginning disguised as loss. Faith is the quiet power behind every comeback, every breakthrough, every transformation. It's what makes you rise when the world expects you to crumble. It's what lets you dream when others settle. It's what keeps you walking toward your destiny even when the destination disappears in the fog. Faith doesn't need proof. It becomes the proof. It doesn't wait for the perfect moment. It creates it. It doesn't demand clarity. It walks boldly in the unknown. That's why faith is the foundation of greatness, because greatness requires walking blind and believing anyway, building before it's visible, trusting before it's tangible. Faith gives you the strength to step into the fire and the wisdom to know that even in the flames, you are being forged, not destroyed. It builds a greatness that cannot be shaken because it was never built on circumstance. It was built on conviction. Discipline turns potential into power because talent without structure collapses under pressure. Potential is promise, but discipline is proof. It is the quiet bridge between who you are and who you're meant to become. Every person is born with some measure of potential, but only those who train it with consistency ever turn it into strength. Discipline is not about control, it's about alignment. It's what keeps your vision alive when motivation dies. It's the inner contract you make with yourself that says, I will do it even when I don't feel like it. Motivation starts the journey, but discipline finishes it. Without it, dreams stay trapped in imagination. With it, they take shape in reality. Discipline is the art of mastering the small things until they become second nature. It's waking up early when your body begs for comfort, studying when distraction calls louder, showing up when no one would blame you for quitting. Discipline doesn't demand perfection, it demands consistency. It's built in repetition, in routine, in refusal to settle. Every time you choose effort over excuse, you're shaping your potential into power. You're training your mind to obey purpose instead of emotion. You're teaching yourself that greatness is not an act, it's a pattern. Every successful person you admire was not carried by luck. They were carried by habits that became unbreakable. Potential will open doors, but discipline will keep them open. It's easy to start with energy, but discipline sustains what emotion begins. It doesn't care if you're inspired, it cares if you're committed. That's why most people never see their potential fulfilled. They mistake excitement for endurance. The real work begins when the excitement fades, when the novelty wears off, when progress slows. That's where discipline separates the dreamers from the doers. It's what wakes you up when comfort tries to lull you back to mediocrity. It's what drives the athlete to train when no one is watching, the writer to write when no words come, the student to study when everyone else has gone to sleep. Discipline doesn't shout, it whispers. It's the silent decision that repeats daily, I will keep going. It's what transforms effort into excellence. Because potential on its own is fragile, it's untamed energy, raw possibility. Discipline shapes it, molds it, directs it toward mastery. Think of potential as a flame and discipline as the oxygen that keeps it burning. Without oxygen, even the brightest flame dies. Without discipline, even the most gifted person stagnates. Discipline isn't glamorous, it doesn't post selfies of progress. It works in the unseen, in the boring, in the routine that others overlook. But that's where transformation happens. In the hours of practice, the moments of repetition, the silent promises kept when no one is clapping. Discipline demands sacrifice. It will ask you to say no to distractions, to comfort, to instant gratification. It will challenge your patience, test your will, and confront your excuses. But what it gives in return is priceless: self-respect, mastery, freedom. Because the disciplined person isn't controlled by impulse, they control their direction. They don't need to wait for perfect conditions because they create their own. Every time you choose discipline, you're choosing strength over softness, focus over fantasy, destiny over distraction. You start realizing that real power doesn't come from intensity, it comes from consistency. One day of effort means nothing. 10 years of it changes everything. When discipline becomes your lifestyle, success becomes predictable. You no longer hope to improve. You ensure it. You stop counting how many times you failed because you understand that consistency will eventually crush resistance. Discipline doesn't guarantee immediate results, but it guarantees eventual transformation. You learn that progress is not about leaps, it's about steady steps that never stop. It's about showing up when it's hard, staying humble when it's easy, and remaining grounded when success arrives. Discipline makes your potential indestructible. Because it trains you to adapt, to persist, to overcome. Discipline is not punishment, it's self-respect in motion. It's choosing your future over your feelings. Feelings change with weather, discipline doesn't. It's the reason some people rise from nothing and others waste everything they've been given. Talent may get you noticed, but discipline keeps you relevant. It's the reason a focused mind beats a gifted one. Discipline teaches you that repetition is not failure, it's refinement. The more you practice, the sharper you become, the stronger your habits grow, the louder your purpose speaks. You start seeing that potential means nothing unless you build the strength to sustain it. There will be days when you don't see progress, when effort feels invisible, when discipline feels like a burden. But that's when it's doing its deepest work. Growth doesn't happen in noise, it happens in silence, in the daily grind where no one applauds. Every day you stay committed, you're building something within you. Focus, endurance, patience. You're proving to yourself that your word means something. And that's real power, keeping promises to yourself. Discipline teaches you to rely less on emotion and more on integrity. It tells you, if I said I will, I must. The most successful people are not the most inspired. They're the most disciplined. They've learned to train their emotions instead of being trained by them. They don't wait for the perfect time, they make every time perfect through action. They don't chase motivation, they chase mastery. And mastery only comes through repetition that most people aren't willing to do. Discipline is a lonely road because few are willing to walk it. But it's also the only road that leads to greatness. It demands early mornings, late nights, missed parties, hard choices, and countless moments of doubt. But each of those sacrifices becomes a brick in the foundation of strength. Discipline's what transforms chaos into control. It takes scattered energy and channels it toward purpose. Without it, your life becomes reactive, always responding, never creating. With it, you move with direction, with clarity, with power. Discipline gives you peace because it removes the chaos of indecision. When you're disciplined, you don't waste energy wondering what to do, you just do what must be done. It becomes your rhythm, your identity. You start realizing that discipline doesn't restrict freedom, it builds it. Because the more control you gain over your habits, the freer you become from the control of circumstances. Potential will tempt you to wait for the right moment. Discipline reminds you that the right moment is the one you act in. Potential dreams, discipline does. Potential talks, discipline works. Potential wishes, discipline creates. The distance between potential and power is measured in consistent effort. Every repetition, every disciplined act, every small victory compounds into strength that can't be shaken. Discipline is slow, but it's sure. It's quiet, but it's absolute. And the power it builds is not temporary, it's permanent. When discipline becomes who you are, you stop needing external validation. You don't care who's watching because you're focused on becoming the person who doesn't quit. You find satisfaction not in the result, but in the process itself. Discipline gives you confidence because you know your effort is enough, your consistency is enough, your growth is inevitable. It takes potential, which everyone has, and turns it into power, which few ever reach. Potential can inspire people for a moment, discipline can move mountains for a lifetime. It is the unseen force behind every legacy, the silent architect behind every success, the constant rhythm behind every masterpiece. Discipline is the ultimate equalizer. It doesn't care about your background, your talent, or your luck. It only asks one thing: will you show up again tomorrow? Will you do what needs to be done even when no one's clapping? Will you keep going when it's no longer exciting? Because if you can, then nothing can stop you. Discipline builds strength brick by brick, day by day, turning potential into unstoppable power that no failure can destroy and no success can corrupt. Failure is not final. It's fuel, a necessary part of the journey that turns weakness into wisdom and setbacks into strength. The moment you start to see failure not as an ending but as an awakening, you begin to understand what greatness truly requires. Failure has never been the opposite of success, it's the foundation that shapes it. Every person who has achieved something extraordinary has walked through the ashes of defeat, faced rejection, stumbled, and questioned their worth. Yet, instead of letting those moments define them, they allowed them to refine them. Failure isn't meant to break you, it's meant to build you. It strips away the illusion of perfection and forces you to confront your truth. How much you want it, how hard you're willing to fight for it, and how deeply you believe in yourself when no one else does. The pain of failure feels unbearable when it first hits. It bruises your ego, crushes your confidence, and makes you doubt every step you've taken. But beneath that pain lies your greatest opportunity, the chance to rebuild with clarity, humility, and focus. Failure is the mirror that reflects not your flaws, but your potential for growth. It doesn't say you're not good enough, it says you're not done yet. Every time you fail, you collect a lesson that success could never teach you. Success whispers comfort, but failure shouts truth. It teaches resilience, patience, and humility, 3 traits that no victory can give on its own. The ones who rise highest are not those who never fall, they are those who fall and rise differently. They don't repeat mistakes, they refine strategies. They don't run from rejection, they study it. They understand that failure is feedback, not a full stop. Each setback is a teacher, each disappointment a drill sergeant molding their will. If you allow failure to fuel instead of define you, you become unstoppable. Because nothing external can break what's been strengthened internally. You start to see every no as redirection, every loss as preparation, every closed door as guidance towards something greater. Failure builds character in ways success never can. It removes the entitlement that comfort creates. It humbles you enough to listen, learn, and grow. It breaks the illusion that progress is supposed to be easy. Every fall teaches you that effort alone is not enough. Precision, awareness, and patience matter just as much. Failure reveals what you truly value, because only when everything falls apart do you see what you refuse to let go of. It clarifies your purpose by stripping away everything that isn't essential. Sometimes life has to break your plan so it can show you your purpose. What looks like loss in the moment often becomes liberation in hindsight. Failure tests your resilience, but it also exposes your potential. You never know how strong you are until everything you counted on disappears. You never know how creative you can be until your comfort zone collapses. You never know how deeply you believe until belief is all you have left. Failure takes you to that edge, the space between giving up and growing up. That's where transformation happens. That's where you stop being who you were and start becoming who you're meant to be. Failure burns away weakness, fear, and ego, leaving behind the kind of strength that can't be faked. It gives you a toughness that success alone can't provide. Those who fear failure live safe but small. They spend their lives avoiding risk, staying comfortable, chasing guarantees. But comfort never built champions. Playing safe may protect your pride, but it robs you of purpose. You can't grow while protecting your ego. You have to risk looking foolish, risk falling short, risk breaking apart, because that's the only way you'll ever discover what you're capable of. Failure teaches you that you can survive disappointment, endure rejection, and still move forward. Once you learn that, nothing can control you. The fear of failure loses its grip when you realize failure itself is just another step forward. Every failure carries information. It shows you what doesn't work, who doesn't belong, and what truly matters. It refines your focus, sharpens your strategy, and strengthens your patience. The greatest inventors, artists, and leaders understood this. They didn't romanticize failure, but they respected it. They used it as data, as direction, as fuel. Each failure brought them closer to mastery because it forced them to adjust, to evolve, to push beyond their limits. Failure creates innovators because it destroys complacency. It pushes you to think differently, to challenge assumptions, to find solutions no one else sees. Without failure, you'd never need to change. And without change, you'd never grow. The energy of failure can destroy or empower you, depending on how you use it. You can let it drain you or let it drive you. The difference lies in your mindset. If you see failure as proof that you're not good enough, it becomes poison. But if you see it as proof that you're trying, that you're learning, that you're still in the fight, it becomes fuel. The most powerful people in the world are not those who avoid failure. They are those who have mastered how to recover from it. They don't waste time blaming circumstances. They take responsibility and adjust. They don't let shame silence them. They let it sharpen them. They understand that every setback is setting up a stronger comeback. Failure also teaches empathy. When you've fallen, you understand what it feels like to lose. You understand what it takes to get back up. That humility makes you kinder, wiser, more human. It gives your success depth and meaning. Because success without struggle is shallow. It doesn't inspire, it only impresses. But when you've been through failure, your victory carries weight. People don't just see your triumph. They see your journey, your resilience, your faith. Failure gives your story power. It turns achievement into inspiration. It transforms your scars into symbols of survival. Most people quit right before breakthrough because they mistake failure for finality. They don't realize that every great success story has a hidden chapter filled with rejection, confusion, and doubt. What they call failure was actually the turning point. The lesson wasn't to stop, it was to shift, to pause, reflect, adapt, and then move forward with sharper vision. Failure is not a dead end, it's a detour. It redirects you toward what's meant for you. Sometimes what feels like rejection is protection. Sometimes the door that closes is saving you from something smaller than what you were born for. Failure has a rhythm. Fall, learn, rise, repeat. Each cycle builds endurance. Each mistake teaches you what endurance feels like. Over time, you start to realize that the fear of failure is more painful than failure itself. Once you stop running from it, you start running through it. You use it as resistance training for your character. Every time you recover, your tolerance for discomfort grows. Every time you rebuild, your confidence deepens. Failure no longer feels like destruction, it feels like discovery. You stop fearing it because you've learned it can't destroy you, it can only develop you. Failure doesn't define your worth, it reveals your work. It shows how much you still have to learn, how far you can still go, and how strong you've become. It's the price of progress, the proof of effort, the evidence of courage. To fail is to live boldly. To fail repeatedly is to grow endlessly. The difference between the broken and the powerful isn't how many times they've fallen. It's how many times they've refused to stay down. Failure is the refining fire that transforms potential into purpose. It takes the raw material of ambition and forges it into determination. It doesn't destroy your dream, it purifies your drive. Every time you fail, you're being shaped, strengthened, prepared. Because failure, when used right, is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of resilience as service creates significance, because true greatness is never measured by how much you gain, but by how much you give. The world teaches us to chase recognition, wealth, and applause, yet none of those things can fill the emptiness that comes from living only for yourself. Service shifts that focus. It takes your attention off what you can get and places it on what you can give. It transforms ambition into impact. It's not weakness to serve, it's wisdom. Because when you lift others, you rise with them. When you pour into others, your own soul overflows. Service gives meaning to motion, direction to purpose, and heart to success. The human spirit was not built to live only for itself. Every person has a deep, unspoken need to make a difference, to know that their presence mattered to someone else. That's why service is not charity, it's connection. It's what gives life its texture, its warmth, its humanity. When you serve, you step outside the boundaries of ego and into the space of empathy. You stop asking, "What do I deserve?" and start asking, "What can I contribute?" The moment you make that shift, everything changes. The burdens you carry become lighter because they're shared. The goals you chase gain depth because they're no longer just about you. Service has the power to heal not just others but also yourself. When life feels heavy, serving someone else reminds you that you still have something to give. It pulls you out of the loop of self-doubt and redirects your energy toward meaning. It's a form of therapy that no medicine can replace. Because when you help someone else rise, you rediscover your own strength. Service reminds you that you have the ability to create change, no matter how small. It transforms pain into purpose, loneliness into love, and struggle into strength. Every act of service, no matter how insignificant it may seem, carries invisible ripples. A kind word can save a life. A simple gesture can restore faith. A small sacrifice can inspire generations. The world changes not through grand speeches or famous leaders, but through the daily acts of quiet compassion performed by ordinary people. You don't need a title to serve, you need a heart willing to care. The teacher who stays late to help a struggling student, the friend who listens without judgment, the stranger who smiles at someone who looks defeated. These are the builders of a better world. Service is not about recognition, it's about responsibility. It's the understanding that you were blessed to be a blessing, that the talents, time, and resources you have are not just for you. They are tools to uplift others. True leadership is service disguised as strength. The most powerful people are not those who sit on thrones, but those who stoop to help others rise. Serving others does not diminish your power, it multiplies it. The more you give, the more purpose you receive. The more you help, the more meaning you uncover. The world rewards those who chase success, but legacy belongs to those who serve. Significance is the quiet reward of selflessness. You can't buy it, fake it, or demand it. You earn it by showing up for others when it's inconvenient, by giving when it's costly, by loving when it's not returned. Service teaches you that the real measure of a life well lived isn't the size of your bank account, but the size of your impact. The stories people tell about you won't be about what you owned. They'll be about how you made them feel. The greatest compliment you can receive is not that you were successful, but that you were useful. Service requires humility, and humility is the foundation of true greatness. When you serve, you acknowledge that you're part of something bigger than yourself. You let go of the need to be seen and focus instead on the need to make a difference. That shift frees you from the prison of ego. Because ego demands applause, but purpose seeks impact. When you live in service, you stop chasing validation and start creating value. You begin to see that the highest form of power is not domination but dedication. The willingness to give your energy, your time, your heart to something beyond yourself. The world often glorifies independence, but service teaches the beauty of interdependence. We are all connected, threads in the same fabric of humanity. When you help someone else succeed, you strengthen the whole. When you heal another, you heal yourself. Service is the invisible force that binds people together and builds communities that last. It replaces competition with compassion and envy with empathy. It reminds you that significance isn't a solo achievement. It's a collective creation. You rise by lifting others, and in lifting them, you find your highest self. Service is not limited to grand gestures or public acts. It lives in the small, consistent choices of everyday life. It's in listening without distraction, in offering kindness when no one expects it, in doing the right thing even when no one notices. It's holding the door open, checking in on a friend, sharing your knowledge, forgiving when it's hard. Service doesn't always look heroic, sometimes it looks ordinary. But that's what makes it extraordinary. It finds holiness in the human, greatness in the giving. Every time you serve, you leave a fingerprint of love that never fades. When service becomes a habit, significance becomes a lifestyle. You stop chasing happiness and start creating it. Because happiness is fleeting, but fulfillment is eternal, and fulfillment is born from service. The more you serve, the more connected you feel to life itself. You begin to see meaning in the mundane, beauty in the broken, purpose in the pain. Service opens your eyes to the truth that every person you meet carries a story, a struggle, a need. And when you serve them, even in small ways, you become part of their healing, part of their hope. Service transforms success into significance. It turns achievement into contribution. Without service, success is hollow, a loud noise that fades quickly. But with service, every achievement carries purpose. Every moment holds weight. You no longer measure success by numbers or trophies, but by lives touched, hearts healed, and souls uplifted. Significance doesn't come from being seen. It comes from seeing others. It's not about making a name. It's about making a difference. To serve is to surrender to meaning. It's to recognize that your purpose isn't found in self-promotion, but in selflessness. The more you pour out, the more you're filled. The more you give, the more you grow. Service sharpens your character, deepens your gratitude, and anchors your soul. It teaches you that true wealth is not accumulation, it's contribution. You realize that the greatest privilege of being alive is the ability to impact another life for the better. When you live a life of service, you move from success to significance, from achievement to legacy. You stop existing and start mattering. You stop chasing status and start creating change. You find that service doesn't just help others, it transforms you. It aligns your actions with your heart, your ambition with your compassion, your success with your soul. It gives meaning to your moments and turns your life into something greater than itself. Because every time you serve, you're building more than success, you're building significance. Gratitude keeps you grounded because it pulls your focus away from what's missing and anchors it in what's present. In a world that constantly tells you to chase more, gratitude whispers that what you already have is enough. It steadies your heart when life feels chaotic and brings clarity when your mind is clouded with comparison. Gratitude is not denial of pain, it is perspective within it. It doesn't ignore what's hard. It reminds you that even within struggle, there are blessings to hold on to. When you practice gratitude, you create a foundation strong enough to withstand life's storms. You stop being tossed by every wave of disappointment and start standing firm in the quiet confidence that you are already rich in the things that truly matter. Gratitude transforms how you see the world. It shifts your attention from scarcity to sufficiency, from lack to abundance. The human mind naturally drifts toward what's missing, what you didn't get, what someone else has, what could have gone better. Gratitude interrupts that pattern. It reminds you that your worth is not tied to what you acquire but to the awareness of what you already possess. A simple sunrise, a deep breath, a moment of laughter, a hand to hold. These are not small things, they are sacred ones. When you start noticing them, life stops feeling like a race and starts feeling like a gift. Gratitude grounds you in the present, and in that presence, peace grows. There's a quiet strength in gratitude that no achievement can replace. Success can inflate the ego, but gratitude humbles it. It reminds you that every accomplishment was not earned alone, that behind every victory stands unseen support, love, opportunity, and grace. Gratitude keeps your feet on the ground when the world tries to lift you too high on pride. It keeps you gentle, kind, and aware of how interconnected everything is. You begin to see that nothing you have is owed, everything is borrowed. Every day you wake up is a second chance, every breath a silent miracle, every smile a reflection of something divine. When gratitude becomes your daily practice, life no longer feels like a checklist of things to attain but a tapestry of moments to appreciate. You start finding joy not only in milestones but in the moments between them. The morning coffee, the sound of rain, the laughter shared after a long day, these become your treasures. Gratitude rewires your mind to see beauty where others see boredom, to find peace where others find problems. It doesn't change your circumstances immediately, but it changes the way you walk through them. It turns survival into serenity, chaos into calm, and ambition into appreciation. Gratitude is not passive. It's a conscious decision to look for light even when the room is dark. Life will always present challenges, and gratitude doesn't erase them, it reframes them. It asks not, "Why is this happening to me?" but, "What is this teaching me?" It turns pain into perspective and loss into lesson. Gratitude reminds you that growth often hides within discomfort. Even heartbreak carries hidden gifts, resilience, empathy, and a deeper understanding of yourself. When you focus on what remains instead of what's gone, you cultivate emotional strength. Gratitude doesn't make life perfect, but it makes life purposeful. The more you practice gratitude, the less power negativity holds over you. It's difficult to be consumed by envy or resentment when your heart is full of thanks. Gratitude and comparison cannot coexist. When you're grateful, you stop measuring your life against someone else's highlight reel. You begin to realize that abundance isn't about having everything. It's about noticing everything you have. It's about looking at your life and seeing blessings where before you only saw burdens. Gratitude keeps your mind from spiraling into what ifs and grounds it in what is. It brings you back to the present moment, the only place peace can truly exist. Gratitude connects you deeply to others. When you're thankful, you start expressing appreciation more freely, to friends, to family, to strangers, even to those who've challenged you. You start saying thank you not just for what people do, but for who they are. Gratitude deepens relationships because it acknowledges value. People feel seen, respected, and loved when they are appreciated. In a world driven by self-interest, gratitude reminds you of your shared humanity. It dissolves ego and builds empathy. The more you practice it, the more you realize how much of life's richness comes not from possessions but from people, from connection, care, and compassion. Gratitude also shapes how you experience time. When you live without it, days blur together in a rush of tasks and expectations. But when you live with gratitude, time slows down. You start savoring moments instead of chasing them. You see that the ordinary is actually extraordinary when viewed with the right heart. Gratitude invites you to pause, to breathe in the now, to taste the moment fully before it passes. You stop waiting for happiness to come someday and start finding it right here, in the simplicity of today. Gratitude makes the present sacred because it teaches you that this moment is enough. Even in solitude, gratitude keeps you rooted. It reminds you that you are never truly alone because life itself is always giving to you. The air you breathe, the ground beneath your feet, the rhythm of your heartbeat, these are all reminders of connection. Gratitude turns loneliness into solitude, turning what could be emptiness into reflection. It grounds you in the understanding that presence is a gift, and being alive is its own miracle. When you focus on the gifts around you, no moment feels wasted. You begin to realize that peace was never something to find, it was something to notice. Gratitude also breeds resilience. When you learn to be thankful even in uncertainty, fear loses its grip. You stop reacting to every difficulty as a threat and start meeting it as a teacher. Gratitude helps you see that even setbacks serve your growth, even losses open space for new beginnings. It doesn't mean you pretend everything is fine, it means you trust that everything has meaning. Gratitude roots you in faith, the belief that life, in its own timing and wisdom, is working for you, not against you. That trust keeps you steady through the storms. When gratitude lives at the center of your being, your relationship with success transforms. You stop chasing validation because you already feel fulfilled. Gratitude teaches that joy isn't at the top of the mountain, it's in every step along the climb. It keeps your ambition grounded in appreciation. You continue to strive, but not from a place of lack, from a place of love for what already is. You stop trying to prove your worth and start expressing it through how you live, how you give, how you notice. Gratitude anchors you in humility, reminding you that everything you have could have been otherwise, and yet here you are, alive, breathing, capable. To live with gratitude is to live awake. It keeps you grounded not in stagnation but in awareness. You begin to move through life with calm confidence, unshaken by fleeting highs and lows. Gratitude gives you roots so that even when the winds of change blow, you remain centered. It builds your emotional foundation so deep that external circumstances lose their power to control your peace. The practice of gratitude is the practice of remembering what's real: connection, love, growth, time. It brings you back to the truth that everything you need to feel whole is already within and around you.